where I start my day in the peace and quiet of the forest. Now, I have things in my family history, and I have things in my personal history and my health history, which I think could seriously bother anyone, and could commit many different kinds of people, including myself, to courses of behavior, perception, or distress all mixed together, which would not be enviable to anyone in the world. Moving on. Most people, I'll come out. So most people in my blood family, if not all of them, are basically what you would call narcissistic sociopaths of an industrial variety. And though what's really helpful about the world is that it's not a coincidence that sociopaths and people with other serious personality disorders are drawn to certain types of groups, which, with further knowledge and understanding, are bound to be populated by sociopaths. And if you have trouble with that, dupes and patsies of the more sociopathic leanings of any group psyche, the totality of which comes to bear upon various victims inevitably with the same kind of genetic profile as a narcissistic sociopath. So that's what you're doing in groups. Okay. Now, you don't have to think about that, worry about that, understand that, care about that, give 3 seconds of your life to that. There's no obligation to do so. I certainly expect nothing from you. Okay, so I know what kind of world I live in. I know that that's not in the brochure, it's not on YouTube, it's not on the ticker tape of CNN, it's not in your high school textbooks, it's not like evolution put in every other paragraph of your life. So it's not something you're used to thinking about. It would take a lot of effort, and it doesn't look like it would even be worth it. You'd rather get on a mountain bike and go down a hill, or throw yourself off a mountain on a bungee cord, because that would be more interesting to other people, and then at least you'd have something to talk about that anyone wants to hear, right? And so there's a lot of things that people could say or do about human suffering that, despite all of the wonderful principles of the industrial sociopaths of the world, none of them, and not you or anyone or any group, wants to hear a fucking thing about them. Understand? Your ears are closed. And we know this because books have been published by famous people telling us this. Do you understand? And I won't make you feel stupid by quoting them word for word. Because I can. Because that's what I do with my life. Because I'm one of the last fucking human beings who cares about what it means to be a fucking human being. And I don't just spend my life spouting off fucking principles and slogans and jargon, walking around with the latest little crotch missile that I can walk around with so I can make friends and influence people. But I'm not bitter. But I'm not bitter. And so, welcome. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I love you. I want you to like me. Please, please like me. Please approve of me. Please, please approve of me. I need your approval. I know some things about you. You, if I say you, I mean like the general population. I don't mean like the person listening, but I'm going to say you because it's more cathartic for me. You are never, ever really satisfied with anything. That's okay, but you're not. The weird thing is that you pretend like you're supposed to be. That's the weird thing. It's like, I'm not going to pretend to anyone that I'm ever completely satisfied. But I wrote a lovely poem last night. My mom had about 45 seconds worth of attention span to listen to it, which didn't get me very far. Actually, more like 10 seconds. And she's never heard me recite any of my poetry from beginning to end. And I'm basically a professional poet since I was, forever. I've written tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of lines of poetry, probably millions of words in my lifetime. I've produced more poetry than the entire Romantic era put together in the English canon, including Shakespeare. Right? It doesn't mean it's great, but it does show a certain persistence in my dedication to the craft, which has given me to pursue concomitantly a path of witchcraft, compared to which literature and poetry is just a very small part. But it's a wonderful way to represent my interests, my considerations, in a way that I myself find most satisfying. which gives a little bit of an idea of the power of words. Since studying physics, I was acquainted with the world with the idea that the world was so big you had to shrink it down to size. You can't deal with the whole world at once. All the trees, all the stones, all the people, all the bullets, all the hours of labor, all the suffering, all the blood, all the uprisings, right? All the distaste, dissatisfaction, and conflict. You can't deal with that all at once, right? They're like, hey, sir, deal with all of it all at once. Okay. You can't. You have to shrink it down, right? And so the world that controls people through every culture, right, has to make things as uniform as possible while maintaining the illusion of increasing diversity. They have to be able to control you. It's not like a seance. They're not going to see if they can control you. They definitely are going to control you. They have to be. We've asked them to be professional psychopaths. A heart surgeon has to be a psychopath or a sociopath. You don't want them worrying about your feelings while they're giving you heart surgery. Like, oh my God, what if I kill them? They need them to do everything perfect. A sociopath wants to do everything perfect. You want them to be sociopaths, right? You want them to be. Okay? You want the most psychopathic fucking heart surgeon you can find. And they'll be like cold as steel. If you die, you die. But you got the best treatment. It doesn't matter that they go to the cafeteria that day and talk about what they saw between your legs while they were giving surgery to you. Not that they would, but I'm just saying, like, anything gross or disgusting that you wouldn't expect from a doctor, it doesn't matter. What matters is that they can do heart surgery. You don't care about their opinions about how much fat you have on your ass. You just care, right? They don't have to care about you, right? They're not going to ask you on a date while you're recovering. They don't give a fuck about you in any sense. They don't have no sentimental regard for their patients. They could, but they don't have to. It's not necessary, and it's probably better if they don't, right? That's why you don't do heart surgery on your own fucking daughter or son. No. I love wine gums, just like my dad. Now my dad is in his 80s, I think. He's probably getting close to it anyway. And virtually no one in my family talks to him or takes any considerable interest in his life. None of them have been abused by him as much as me, and yet I still love him. They have professions ranging from psychology, public service, medicine, education, business, but not me. I just walk around the woods smoking weed and talking to you nice folks. How is it possible, despite facing attempted murder and domestic assault throughout my life and stalking, that I can still manage to have such kind of sympathies for my father? Because I'm not a psychopath. Because I refuse to scapegoat my father. Because I've taken the time to find out more, you see, about my parents' behavior. I took the time to look into the darkness. I took my time to find out more. You know what kind of time I took? I took a quarter of a fucking century to do that. And I didn't make any money doing it. Right? That's my satisfaction. And I still don't have it. Right? But that's what I do. That's what I did with my life. And so when I meet the average fucking white worker, we don't have much to talk about because you or they don't have any fucking substance because you never fucking look into anything. You could take a course on research science and forensic analysis and you wouldn't learn a fucking thing about your own fucking mother and father because you're not supposed to and you don't want to. And you don't have the courage to do something that no one's going to pay you for. Because the only thing worth doing is the stuff that makes you fucking money. Right? It's incredible. That's the uniform training of all human beings, right? If you want human beings to not do things, don't pay them for the things you don't want them to do. Volunteer service, my ass. I've volunteered my fucking ass 24 hours a day for 25 years. Nobody gives a fuck. I'm what's called a good animal. Anyway, people don't have a lot of satisfaction. I don't want to talk crap about my mom. She's a lovely lady in many respects, but she scapegoats my father. She objects to this violently, and I explained to her what scapegoating is, My father is someone that, she's a female sociopath, right? When women are sociopaths, it's a lot harder to detect because we've basically been trained to think that what a woman is a sociopath. Right? What most people consider is the boundaries of how we respect a female of any gender is basically respecting a sociopath. We don't make distinctions between the two. A woman acts like a sociopath. She's just doing something that women are allowed to do, right? And men as well. But the women take the lead. No, it's not their fault. It's how society is created. And it creates a uniform violence potential in all groups, in all relationships, right? Which is followed through with the matrimonial monetary system, which gives women an advantage over children and men, right? So it puts men at a subliminal disadvantage every day. When people, you can have any gender you want, that's fine with me. We're going to have a mature discussion about gender. When gender is dislocated, people lose the ability to be able to discriminate between right and wrong, right? And this is, you could have whatever gender you like and be a totally fine person. That's not what I'm talking about. In movies where your brains are getting scrambled every time, they always have gender skews in the film, right? Every theater, every show is always going to have gender skewed actors to help you release your inhibitions about losing your ability to discriminate between one thing and another, because the most powerful link to your judgment and your discriminating power is that you know that you are a man and you're not a woman, right? Different between you and your mother, you and your father and your mother, the day and the night, the male and the female. And what you find with sociopaths quite often is that they can't make, if you test them, and I've done this, especially with women, they cannot make these cognitive discriminating factors. They can't do it. They don't even know they can't do it. And they're very proud of not being able to do it. And in deference to which, or in lieu of this capacity, they will often vaunt all kinds of incredible principles that have to do with values and protecting women and making society a better place. So you can see that humans have lost something, right? They've lost something. They've lost the moral juncture of their gender and their abstract reasoning. Right. So in this society, right, where I live in this region, you have children walking around who will never understand right from wrong, ever. Doesn't matter what religion they are, what family they come from, they'll never understand right from wrong. Right? Right? When you have a thing like TikTok, what is right or wrong? Tick or talk? Which do I like better, tick or talk? Tick, talk. Which is better? Talk, tick, tick, talk. Right? Talk could just be a tick. Talk is cheap, they say. Boom, chicka chicka boom, 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 boom. So my mother scapegoats my father, my siblings do. They think he's the only real evil in the entire family. Meanwhile, they have one and together attempted to murder me, dislocated my shoulder 20 times, dislocated all of my ribs, and exposed me to the sexual assault and stalking of, in my case, my mother, maybe half a dozen other women in the building. And even though these women have exposed her to danger and me to danger, and created very disintegrating conditions and even hurt me physically, my mom defends all of them because they're females. But my dad, whom she hasn't known in 25 years, been separated for more than that, she fucking wants to kill him. Thankfully, he lives across the ocean. He can do no right. right? Even though he's the father of her children. Because my dad, ever since when she met him, and from a sort of childhood level, she was raped when she was 5 by her disgusting family, can only have a man around if he's doing something for her. Okay? She did better with her second marriage, but she kept my dad around only as long as he was useful to her. And when he stopped being useful, she would become violent with him. Because that's all he became useful for, which essentially was his greatest usefulness, he would think, is to take violence. My mom sexually and physically mutilated my father, but nobody said anything. She has sexually mutilated me for years, right? And she doesn't say sorry, she's not even aware of it, because her gender isn't fully rooted anymore, and wasn't when she was young, okay? So she can't make a difference between other people's negative behavior and her own negative behavior. So in a movie, the scapegoat's the evil person, and normally you would never blow someone up and cut off parts of their body with any relish. But because they're the evil person in the movie, you go, yeah, fucking kill him, blow his head off, right on. And everyone walks away while his corpse is laying there bleeding. You don't care about him anymore. He's gone. He's giving you catharsis. Finally, we've killed the guy that was fucking up the works. He is the baddie. We got the baddie. We have the advantage of an omniscient camera that shows us just how awful he is. We know he has to be murdered. Execution is imminent. And you sit there in the theater with your family, and you're like, we're gonna kill that guy. We're gonna fucking murder that son of a bitch. Hey son, don't worry. We're gonna cut him up. We're gonna slice him and dice him. We're gonna shoot him. We're gonna shoot his whole family and blow up all of his people. Right? And you come out and go, oh, what wholesome American entertainment, right? And you have no idea what's going on with your brain. That's scapegoating, and that's why everyone is a sociopath, right? You live in a military Roman fascist culture all around the world. Okay? Kill, kill, kill. You don't notice in all these movies, they have gender-crossed characters that help initiate, especially in the first 15 minutes of the movie, a particular change in the chemistry and the blood chemistry of your brain so that you release your judgment. It basically attacks you. Even as the bad people are attacking at the end of the movie, your brain is being attacked to have your judgment relieved. And the whole story promises you that you're going to have your judgment is going to ascend back into its natural supremacy. But it never does. It's witchcraft. Right? You're putting your children in front of a TV. You're basically putting them in the care of someone who's going to influence their brain more than you ever will in a lifetime in about 5 minutes. Isn't that fascinating? Over and over again, with every flicker, with every pulse, with every song, every beat, every car chase, every single genetic profile of every duration, of every movie, and every song, and every book in the world. Good luck with that. But apparently you're not a sociopath. And you know the real world, and you know that I don't make any sense. And no one would pay anyone to think about this. Good for you and all your values. Go to church. Go share some values with your friends and talk about how you're just smarter and better than people like me. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your sociopathic lives. Really, I mean, go for it. Enjoy. I wouldn't want to take anything away from you. I mean, God, if I ever did, I'd have to be very worried, wouldn't I? You might hurt me. You might see me on the street and think I'm a bad guy. You need to fucking drop a piano on my head or give me a dirty look. Maybe you want to write a comment. Something passive-aggressive. What do we do? You know, call me a name, right? Just a nice, innocent boy, grew up to be 50, who's been raped and mutilated by sociopathic people like you all of his life. Doing an honest day's work, being honest and courageous, not in some fucking battlefield with medals, just on the fucking wild earth of all the fucking greatest people of the earth, by the way, with a brain that developed walking on uneven ground, not on fucking sidewalks where you walk every day. So your brain never gets stimulated. It becomes like concrete. You are what you walk upon, aren't you? Right? And you walk above the earth. You walk above people like me. Oh, you walk above the past. You walk beneath the future. You're above everything, floating on the soles of your feet. Oh no, the soles of your feet, right? Because there's a Yuletide between you and the earth. The constant ebb of sacrifice created by an electrical disequilibrium between your entire blood system and that of the nature of all core human ethics and biology by birth. Wow, introduced by protracted and acute separations from the primal mother and father. Wow, but don't worry, you don't have to deal with that. It's all an illusion. Go back to sleep. Go watch The Matrix. It'll be okay. Go put your hand down your crotch and masturbate to some child porn, and you'll feel better. Because most of them are children anyway, let's face it. Children who've been sexually abused. Just like everyone. I like to start my day with bitterness, because that's what I have in my blood. I talked to my mom about my dad, and it's just like this absolute lack of consideration for him as a human being. And she says, oh, your sister was talking to him, and he upset her. And I said, Mom, did she ever ask you and him, or him, her elder parents, about your day? You know, does she still acknowledge that, you know, the sun sometimes falls upon her father's face, or that he wants a good bowel movement every day, enjoy food, enjoy the kind of peace that humans want to enjoy, that defies all of the negative suggestions of their so-called mortality? Do you ever think about that? Like as a human being, you know, just like me or you, but they don't. They're complete sociopaths, right? Complete and utter narcissistic sociopaths. All of my family. And they've scapegoated me, they scapegoated my father. It doesn't mean that he hasn't done bad things. He was sexually abused when he was a child. He was hit by his father, right? Strong, overbearing man. But he had love for him, like none of his family did. My father sustained, despite all of the persuasive sociopathy he was subjected to, the ability to think of his mother and father as people. Amazing, eh? And I got that from him. I inherited the best of my mother and father. My mom has helped me in this study because she projects onto me. She scapegoated me as well, right? Scapegoating is such a habitual thing for sociopaths, you know? They do it all the time. Someone who takes all the blame and all the fault. Someone you can hate reliably. And you don't have to think about them as a human being, like an evil person in a TV show, like Jesus, right? It's basically the hero that you hate goes and dies, and his death, right, justified or not, makes the world a better place. And by participating in, because you're essentially a bad person who has to cover up the insecurity of being a dead weight to society, is better off doing that in the various groups that are enlarged as you are, by participation in something that will never solve the reason that you chose to join it. Primal dislocation. Don't worry, I don't know anything I'm talking about. I don't have any letters after my name. Right? I have no IQ whatsoever. I'm a complete moron. Why would you listen to me? I'm only a satanic witch in the old ways. I'm nothing. Just a stupid, small-cocked, white virgin male. That's right. I've never